All right, today we're diving into something pretty amazing. We're going to look at two very different but super powerful ways you can literally change your own brain. One is an ancient art, and the other is a modern machine. So let's explore how you can actually start rewiring your own mind. So let's just start with the biggest question right off the bat. Can you really, on purpose, change the physical structure and the actual chemistry of your brain? Is that even possible? For hundreds of years, the answer was a hard no. The thinking was, once you're an adult, your brain is pretty much set in stone. That's it. But, oh man, has science completely flipped that idea on its head in the last few decades. And it's all because of this one incredible word, neural plasticity. This is the big one. It's the simple but profound idea that your brain can rewire itself. We're not just talking about learning a new fact. We're talking about your brain physically changing its own connections and its own structure based on what you do and what you experience. This is the key that unlocks this whole conversation. Okay, so let's jump into our first method. This is the ancient art, a practice that's been around for literally thousands of years, mindfulness. Now, when scientists want to study mindfulness, they can't just tell people to be mindful. They need a system. And that's where MBSR comes in, mindfulness-based stress reduction. This isn't just some vague advice to relax. It is a very specific 8-week program that's been studied like crazy. It uses things like meditation and body scans to train your mind, which gives researchers a consistent way to see what's actually happening in the brain. And what they've found? It's just wild. Here's the absolute key takeaway. Doing this stuff regularly doesn't just make you feel better. It physically, measurably changes the structure of your brain. And check this out. Look at how specific these changes are. On one side, you have your prefrontal cortex. Think of this as your brain's CEO. It's in charge of smart decisions, focus, self-control, the part that says, maybe don't send that angry email. Well, that area actually gets thicker. And then on the other side, you've got the amygdala. This is your brain's little alarm system, the part that triggers fear and stress. With mindfulness, that area literally shrinks. So you're building up your control center while dialing down your panic button. It's incredible. And it's not just the brain's structure, it's the chemistry too. Mindfulness actually boosts the good stuff. It increases GABA, which helps you feel calm. It increases serotonin, which is key for your mood. It even increases something called BDNF, which is basically like fertilizer for your brain cells, helping them grow. And maybe most importantly, it turns down the dial on cortisol, the body's #1 stress hormone. Okay, let's totally switch gears. We've talked about the ancient art. Now let's talk about the modern machine. This is called neurofeedback, and you can think of it as a real-time mirror for your brain. This image here shows the basic idea perfectly. You've got sensors, maybe an EEG cap on your head, that are measuring your brain's electrical signals. That info gets sent to a computer, which then shows you what your brain is doing, right as it's doing it. So how does this actually work? Well, it's a pretty slick 4-step loop. First, sensors measure your brain activity. Second, a computer crunches those numbers instantly. Third, and this is the cool part, you get immediate feedback. Maybe you're playing a simple video game where the character only moves when your brain is in a calm state. And that leads to step 4. Your brain starts to learn. It figures out what it needs to do to control the game. You are literally learning how to pilot your own brainwaves. Okay, so we've got these two really powerful sounding methods. But what does the hard science actually say? Let's do a quick evidence check. And this is where we see a really big difference right now. For mindfulness, the evidence is rock solid. We're talking mountains of research, systematic reviews, the gold standard. It's a broad practice that's also super accessible and cheap. Anyone can do it. Neurofeedback, on the other hand, well, it's a lot more targeted, but the evidence is still playing catch-up. Researchers have even called it tenuous, and there's a lot of debate. Plus, you need really expensive, specialized gear and a trained pro to run it. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from a scientific paper on the subject. They're basically saying that a lot of the studies have some serious issues that need to be ironed out before we can draw really firm conclusions. So here's the bottom line. Mindfulness is a proven, well-established tool for wellness with a ton of science to back it up. Neurofeedback is this super exciting, promising technology that's still emerging. It's got huge potential, but it's still being tweaked and refined. So, after putting the ancient art and the modern machine head-to-head, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you? Let's break it down real simple. First, at their core, both of these are about one thing, helping you learn to regulate yourself.
Mindfulness is your go-to, scientifically proven, super accessible tool for just feeling better overall and handling stress. Neurofeedback is this powerful, but still developing, technology that could be amazing for very specific, targeted issues down the road. Really, the most important thing is that whether you go low-tech or high-tech, you just need to understand the evidence behind whatever path you choose.
And that kind of leaves us with this big final question to chew on. As we look to the future, what's it going to be? Are we going to rely on the ancient wisdom we've had for centuries, or are we going to lean into advanced technology? Or maybe the real future of mental wellness is figuring out the perfect way to combine them both.